Fernando Tatis Jr. is undoubtedly the best player on the San Diego Padres, but he somewhat underperformed in 2024. But can he lead the Padres to a World Series championship in 2025? We'll break down Tatis and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, riding solo today, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify, please drop us a 5-star rating and review on there as well. It would help us out so much. And lastly, most importantly to Matt and I, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute episode. And if you are interested in joining us on Subtext, the link is available in any of our social media platforms, or it's in the bio wherever you're listening or watching. And all right, guys, we're actually wrapping up team reviews. If you're still watching at this point in the year, of course, you're a fantasy baseball fanatic like Matt and I. And the Padres, man, we're wrapping up with the Padres. They had a pretty solid season, even though I do want to say they were very interesting from a fantasy baseball perspective. They did have quite a few players who underperformed, like Fernando Tatis Jr., but also had some breakouts like Jackson Merrill, and we'll get across, all of the players that we need to on today's episode. The Padres, though, had a good season overall, 93 wins, 69 losses, made it to the playoffs, got eliminated, and I mean, what can you say? They wound up losing to those Padres. The Padres wound up losing to those Dodgers, who went on to win the World Series. So, can't fault them much there. But like I said, we always like to look at things from a fantasy baseball perspective. And, I really just want to get into it, guys, today, as we wrap things up here with team reviews. So I won't hold you too long and just basic overall team stuff. So let's start with Fernando Tatis Jr. Like I said, one of the most interesting players in baseball, one of the most talented players in baseball. But, somewhat of a lackluster season here from Tatis. Dealt with injuries, had the leg issue, that held him out for quite a while this season. Missed, quite a few games. Tatis only played in 102 games this past season. Numbers for him, he did have in those 102 games, Tatis did 398 at-bats, 64 runs, 21 doubles, a triple, 21 homers, 49 RBIs, 11 steals, and he hit 276. So with that being said, we all know what Tatis is capable of. You look back at his minor league stats, you look at his 2021 season where he hit 42 homers and stole 25 bases, hit 282. Tatis is capable of being a 280-plus hitter with, 35-plus homers and 25-plus steals, a 30-30 candidate, if you will, and will drive in a lot of runs and RBIs. He hits in a good spot in this Padres lineup. Even look back last season where Tatis played 141 games, 575 at-bats, had 91 runs. The 25 homers were a little bit low, but then again, dealt with the wrist issue, coming off of, the stupid motorcycle accident that he had, and, just was playing through injuries, didn't tell people he was hurt. Tatis is getting a little older. Hopefully he's smartening up, learning from his past. I'm just interested where he's going to, go in drafts this season, especially after, like I said, a little bit of a lackluster season. He's dealt with injuries. I think people might be getting a little bit fed up. Last year, Fernando Tatis was coming off the board as the 9th overall player. I don't think we're going to have to pay that price for him this year. I think a lot of players that were drafted, below him overperformed, or not overperformed, but performed better than he did. I'm talking, of course, about guys like Aaron Judge, who was taken after Tatis last year. Shohei Ohtani was taken after him last year. Jose Ramirez. just guys like that, I think, surpass Tatis. I think everyone that went above him pretty much stays above him. Maybe you could argue like a guy like Freddie Freeman or Corbin Carroll might be taken after him, but I still think Tatis falls, honestly, to the end of the first round. I'm not sure if he gets out of the first round in the 12-man league, to be honest with you, but if he does, and you could get Tatis in the second round this year, I'm taking him. Of course, I think the risk is worth the reward for a guy like Tatis. Like I said, 35 homers with a lot of steals. 25 plus, and he there's even a world where Tatis hits close to 300. To be honest, he has the discipline for it. Even if you look at Tatis's underlying stats, right? I don't like to always get into the super nerdy stuff, so I'll give it to you from just a regular fantasy baseball perspective. He still hits the ball super hard. The underlying stuff looks great for batting average. Actually, his expected batting average is 298. So, like I said, there's a world where he hits 300. He swings his bat fast. He's got good bat speed. He's almost in the 80th percentile of sprint speed, so he is super fast. So, a kid that's going to be 26 years old next season, and I think finally getting his head on straight. If Tatis plays 150 games, 100 plus runs with 100 plus RBIs is possible too. So I really think we need to take Tatis, give him one more chance. And I think if he gets hurt, really bad this season again, or if he does something stupid, or if he just doesn't perform well, then we can kind of have the discussion again going into 2026. But I still believe in Tatis. There's a reason why this kid was number one prospect in all of baseball, and I think we still need to believe. That's a lot of time with Tatis, though. Let's move on to Manny Machado. Manny Machado is still a very, very good player in this league, right? He's somebody who, has had the ups and downs, is getting a little bit older. He is going to be 32 this upcoming season, but you know what? That's still, it's still all right. He does have a lot of miles on his legs, so that doesn't always worry me with Machado. But this past season, a good year for Manny, right? He played in 152 games. He had 593 at-bats. He had 77 runs, 30 doubles, 29 homers, 105 RBIs, 11 steals, and he hit 275. It was a down 2023 for Machado where he only had 258. He did deal with injuries, only played 138 games. I'm believing in Machado. I really think he's going to be solid. I like this Padres team. I think they're going to be somewhat aggressive in free agency. I'm not sure which direction they're going to go in. They could, use another starting pitcher. They could use another bat. This team misses Juan Soto, man. I think they're going to miss him as much as the Yankees are going to miss him. I don't want to get into too much Juan Soto speculation, but you know what? Just another bat here would be really nice for this team to, complement the Machado, Tatis, the core that they already have there. Going into last year, Machado was coming off the board as the 7th third baseman. I think he's going to fall somewhere around there again. So if you don't, get one of the big ones, he was coming off the board at pick 45 last year. And I think even a guy like not so much, but not Austin Riley. I mean, Manny Machado is still another great player in this league. I think we take him with confidence. He's right around, honestly, a top 5 third baseman for me. I still think the power's there. Still hits the ball, pretty hard. Not super fast. So the 11 steals last year were pretty much just of want or need. I'm not expecting it, especially when he stole 3 bases in 2023 and 9 in 2022. Only has 3 double-digit steal seasons since 2018. So I'm not banking on him having, major steals, but I think the batting average is something that, Machado is going to be steady. I don't think we need to worry about him being the 258 hitter he was in 2023. I think there's a world where Machado hits, 280 plus. So another, Padres hitter that is great for fantasy baseball that we draft with confidence going into the 2025 season. But with that being said, this team, is so interesting from a fantasy baseball perspective. We got Jackson Merrill coming up next. We got Xander Bogaerts. A lot of these great names that you guys are not going to want to miss out on coming up next. But guys, real quick, I need to talk to you about my friends over at Select Quote. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork, and teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less. When Select Quote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes, you invest so much time to take care of yourself and be the healthiest, best version of you. So Select Quote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. If you are in good health, they work with carriers that can get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million, no medical exam required. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right life insurance for you for less. A selectquote.com/locked on. Go to selectquote.com/locked on today to get started. Once again, that's selectquote.com/locked on to get started today. And once again, I want to talk to you guys about the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As this offseason continues to unfold, you can rely on Matt and I for our dynamic content. You're going to get real-time alerts right to your phone, including 2025 rankings, breakout, sleepers, bust, and we're exclusively answering your keeper and dynasty questions on Subtext this time of year. So you're going to want to make sure you get there to join the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begin. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. The link to our Subtext is available in the bio wherever you're listening or watching, and it's also available on any of our social media platforms. And all right, guys, that is a lot. But you know what? This team, the Padres, are so interesting. And this next player is a favorite of mine. And if you listen to Matt and we were talking about the big spring training that Jackson Merrill was having. And we told you, maybe take a flyer on him. And then even when he was hitting, right away out of, the beginning of the season, when, they announced that he was going to make the team, we told you to pick him up. We begged you to pick him up. I had him in almost all of my leagues this past season. Jackson Merrill was one of the top prospects in all of baseball. And at 21 years old for the San Diego Padres this past season, Jackson Merrill played 156 games, had 554 at-bats, 77 runs, 31 doubles, 6 triples, 24 homers, 90 RBIs, 16 steals, and he hit .292. I don't want to be too excited here, but you have to be. You have to be when a top prospect, comes up at 21 years old and performs like this, and the underlying stuff loves him, thinks that he's, going to be a star in this league. Jackson Merrill hits the ball very hard. He's very fast. To be honest with you, I think he's going to be my guy. I think he's going to be a must-have for me. I think I'm going to take him in every single league. He's going to be a priority for me. Honestly, I think we're going to be able to get him as an outfielder number 2. But I'm a high-end outfielder number 2 for me, a low-end outfielder number 1, because Jackson Merrill's honestly upside for me is 30 easily. He is very fast. The 16 steals don't tell the story of how fast Jackson Merrill actually is. 81st percentile in sprint speed. He's faster than Fernando Tatis Jr. The counting stats are going to be very, very good for Jackson Merrill hitting this lineup. I think they're going to find him a nice sweet spot at the top of the lineup, and he's going to do damage, man. The kid can just hit. He's hit throughout his whole minor league career, his college career. He's just a stud. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. Yeah, maybe you can put a little bit more muscle on that frame, but I still love him as a player, as a prospect. There's really not much really love here. I mean, not much to hate here for the young Jackson Merrill. I'm just curious to see once again where are we drafted and where does the fantasy baseball community fall on a guy like Jackson Merrill, who had a season like this, who has the prospect pedigree. I really think he's going to get pushed up draft boards because you know what? We all have access to the same information. You guys, have access to it as well, and I would expect you guys to utilize it. As my fantasy baseball fanatics out there, you guys should be, using things like Baseball Savant and just, doing the deep diving yourself. I love to put this in simple terms for you. If you're on your way home from work, way to work, just simple commute, you want your fantasy baseball knowledge, real quick. I get that in there. But in your spare time, just check in, just tap in and see for yourself. Yeah, this kid Jackson Merrill is really, really, really good. And big prospects ahead for him. I don't want to spend too much time on him, but guys, mark him down on your list. Circle him, on draft day, and make sure you get you some Jackson Merrill in 2025. Let's move on to Xander Bogaerts. Headed over, to this team, and had pretty solid results. Playing a new position, going over to second base. I like Bogaerts, not one of the sexiest names on the team. 428 at bats for Bogaerts this past season with 50 runs, 11 homers, 13 steals, hit 264, dealt with injuries, missed time. I think Bogaerts is a pretty good bounce back candidate. I don't think he's going to be very highly drafted, to be honest with you. He's getting a little bit up there in age. He will be 30. This will be his age 32 season upcoming. And he's a career 289 hitter. So the batting average is bouncing back. The batting average isn't going to be, 264 in 2025 for Bogaerts. He's not a huge power guy. I'm not expecting a huge power number from Bogaerts, but there is a world where he gives you, 20-ish homers and he steals, 15 bases as well. And that's going to help you at second base. And it really just depends where Bogaerts finds his sweet spot in this Padres lineup in 2025. If it's near the top and, there's a world where Bogaerts may find himself, hitting leadoff. I'm not sure how much that's going to happen when the next guy that I'm talking about is there. Still, next guy that I'm going to talk about, I'll just throw a name out there, Luis Arias. So I'm not sure how they're going to play things with Bogaerts. So the counting stats might not be super sexy, but I think Bogaerts is, if he's a guy, if you wait at second base a little bit, not too long, because I still think he finds his way in the top 10 because there's not, he was actually drafted as a 9th overall second baseman in 2024. So he's still going to be around there. If you're taking Bogaerts around, I think he may fall closer to pick 100. I think that I think that's a good spot for Bogaerts. I'm not really going to add too much more here. He's not one of the better players for fantasy baseball. So we'll move on. This next guy, though, very interesting. Luis Arias is the kind of guy that you want to love him. You want to love him for a fantasy baseball perspective. Luis Arias hits over 300 consistently. Doesn't strike out a lot, but also doesn't walk a lot. Arias stole 9 bases this past season. He doesn't get you a crazy amount of counting stats. The runs are good. We're 83, but it's a lot of volume for Arias. He played 150 games at 637 at-bats. But even if you look back where he played 3 less games in 2023, it was 147 games, 574 at-bats. It was 71 runs. He hits a lot of doubles, 30 doubles consistently the last 3 years, 3 triples. Probably I don't play in a lot of points leagues myself, but Luis Arias, it seems like he has the profile for a very, very strong points leagues player, but he's a specialist. And he's a guy that I'm not overdrafting. I think it happens in a lot of leagues where guys see that 300 batting average and they fall in love. But, Luis Arias is still going to have that second base eligibility going into 2025. He might have first base on Yahoo, where he played 8 games. Yahoo, I forget whether they do 5. I think it's 5 starts, 10 appearances. So I'm not sure if he started at least 5 of those games at first. But Arias is, like I said, if you need a guy that's going to contribute in and batting average very well, and also throw some runs in there too. You could look his way because he's done that consistently for a long time. So if you need somebody that is going to do those things, you grab Luis Arraez. So, guys, before we move on and we get into, the starting pitching, and we might even talk a little prospect and closing action too with these Padres, once again, names like Dylan Cease, Michael King, and more coming up next. Folks, real quick, I need to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, folks, I teased it, and let's do it. Let's talk starting pitching. Let's talk the bounce back season from Dylan Cease. And the funny thing is, Matt and I kind of did have a lot of hate for Dylan Cease, especially, I'll say this, going into the 2023 season, Matt and I did. Matt and I really, really locked in, and Matt even made a huge prediction. I'll say this, I was locked in on Cease. I was avoiding him. I knew it wasn't going to be a good season, but Matt went over the top and said that he wasn't even going to be like a top, I believe it was like 30 starting pitcher, and he wasn't. So that was a great call for Matt, but we weren't super buying in this season either. We were on the fence about Dylan Cease, especially since he went to the Padres, which is a way better team, environment, just setting in general to get away from the White Sox. So, it was a great season for Cease. Let's just leave it at that. 33 starts, 3.47 ERA, 189 innings, 224 strikeouts for Cease, a 3.10 FIP, and a 1.06 WHIP. Now, here's the thing. Do I think Cease will be as good in 25? No, probably not. But, I think the ERA can stay right around their mid-threes ERA. The strikeouts will be huge. The big thing is, can he really limit the walks and hits like he did, last season? That's something Cease has never really been known for, and it really turned around for Cease. I don't know if it's the coaching over there in San Diego that did it for him. It definitely could be, because Cease is a very talented starting pitcher, and if you just make a couple of tweaks sometimes and you figure it out, you do like the Blake Snell in a sense, where Blake Snell, when he locks in, man, I know he does walk guys a lot too, but he figures it out in the whip department sometimes, man. That big second half in 23 for Snell where he just really locked in. I think Cease can do that in long stints too. You really did see it here in 2024 for Cease. Cease going into 25, you're probably gonna have to take him as an SP1. I'll be honest with you. I really think he's gonna fall in that range. Am I doing it? Probably not. I would love Cease as an F. If I waited on my SP2, I would definitely jump in there. We got Cease last year as the SP25, pick 89. It's definitely moving up. But if he can stay, like I said, out of that SP1 range, that like if he falls around like the SP 18, 19, I'm all in on Cease then. Because I love the big strikeout numbers. I love the potential. Cease is still only going to be 29 next season. He doesn't have a crazy amount of innings on his arm. And he's consistently thrown a lot, though, too. He's thrown 165 innings plus, 32 starts plus the last 4 years. So there is a lot of consistency here, and a lot of what you're getting with Cease. And worst case scenario, it's a mid-threes ERA, a lot of strikeouts, and you're talking about maybe like a 1.25 WHIP. So that's that with Cease. I think we can draft him with confidence if he's not going to be taken as an SP1. Let's move on to somebody who's a lot of upside. Let's talk about Michael King. Michael King, honestly, the breakout season was on before he got hurt, and the injury really threw King off. But you know what, man? I'm still all in. I don't know if it's the Yankee fan in me, but we know that King does have the stuff, and he actually did. The injury actually I wasn't as bad as I thought. It was. I was thinking a couple years ago. It was actually 30 starts this year for King with a 2.95 ERA, 173 innings, 201 strikeouts, and a 1.19 WHIP, and he's there, man. He's another guy that's just moving up draft boards. I know the price is going to be high in 2025. Just another guy. I see people probably pushing him up into SP2 territory. I don't like that, but that's just because we didn't have to pay that price for him going into this season. So he wants to, and this is a very similar thing to that I said about Cease. With King, if I can get him as my SP3, I love it. He's a high-end SP3 at that. I think the whip can even get better next season. I think the control is something that, as King, keeps adjusting to the starting role and figures it out, like going through the order like a third time, he's going to be solid. He's going to be one of the better pitchers in baseball in 2025. I just hate that I'm going to have to pay an SP2 price when I would love him as my SP3. But we trust Michael King, man. The stuff is there. Really, really good stuff for King. Great pitch mix. Like I said, he's had an under 3 ERA the last 3 seasons. I know he really just adjusted to starting last year. 2 years ago with the Yankees. So there is that coming into play here too, that a lot of, these innings over the past 3 seasons have been, more as a reliever, but even in 30 starts this past season, he did it. Michael King did have an under 3 ERA. I don't know if he does it again, but even like a low, if he has like a 3.2, a 3.3 ERA, that's believable. Once again, the volume of innings for King is there. The strikeouts are there. The stuff is there, and, the control too. So he just checks off all the things. Another guy that I'm circling on draft day that I'm going to really try and get as many shares of as I can. Once again, just really, really going to try to avoid paying that SP2 price for Michael King. Let's move on to Yu Darvish. Man, I was always a big Yu Darvish guy. I actually have a quick, funny Yu Darvish story, right? Let's take a look here. I believe, I think it was 2019? It was the year with the Cubs, right? Where Yu Darvish was having a horrible season, and just after the All-Star break, I do want to say maybe it was 2019. It was having a horrible year, and after the All-Star break, I think it was, he just lit it up. And I remember, I think it was coming out of the All-Star break, he had a really bad start, and I was talking to one of my friends who was in one of my keeper leagues, and I was like, man, I really think I'm done with Darvish. And he was like, you're crazy. And I forget who it was, but there was like a hot free agent out there, had a great start, and I just made the move. We were getting closer to playoffs. It's the time we really have to make those tough calls, and I did it. He picked up Darvish, and he went on a legendary run, and I kind of was out on Darvish this year. That's where I was going with this, is that I was out on him again this year. I was like, at age 36 in 2023, Darvish had a horrible year. I'm out. Darvish made 16 starts in 2024 this past season at a 3.31 ERA, 81 innings, 78 strikeouts, and he had a 1.06 WHIP. Now, I don't think we're going to have to pay a crazy price for Darvish in 25. He's going to be 38 years old. I'm in on him if I can take him as a flyer. If I can take him as one of my last starting pitchers, sure. I'm not counting him making over 20 starts. But, if the starts that he's out there, he gives you volume, because he can, around that K per 9, maybe a little bit over on occasion with limiting runs and walks and hits. He is an interesting player. He definitely is. But with that being said, since he is going to be somebody who's taking leaders in drafts, let's talk about their closer. Let's talk about Robert Suarez, man. I'm impressed. I'm impressed by Robert Suarez. Honestly, it was just crazy that, he comes out, he grabs the job, after they lose Josh Hader, and they really weren't sure 100% what they were going to do. But, Robert Suarez, man, 65 games this past season, 36 saves, 2.77 ERA, 65 innings pitched, 59 strikeouts with a 104 WHIP. Now, he's not going to blow you away. He's not the best closer out there, but man, he contributed for a guy that we really didn't expect. expect to, do it. Was an all-star this past season. Now, I don't know if he's locked in for the closer role next season. He's going to be 34 years old. But you know what? I do like him. I don't think we're going to have to take him as like a top 10 closer. I think if you wait on your second closer and you just take Robert Suarez, man, he could be okay. I like him. He's a solid guy at the back of the bullpen there. It's got decent stuff. The underlying stats believe in it. The FIP was really good last year. He's always been a solid guy when it comes to limiting walks and hits. So always going to have a pretty solid whip. So let's just see where things go. With the closing situation, we'll keep an eye on it. See if anything changes up after spring training. But if Robert Suarez is back there, man, I trust him, and I think he's going to make a very, very good, second closer for us in 2025. Guys, but with that being said, cutting it short here today, we're wrapping things up. Like I said, that's all for, our team review episodes here. I think we'll be moving into some sort of position previews or something like that. Once again, I got to touch base with Matt to see what we're going to be doing for you guys next week. But I think we're going to move along that line of stuff. But hey, you know what? Also, sound off in the comments. Let us know what kind of episodes you guys want this kind of year. We're definitely going to be doing some sort of specialty episodes, some kind of fun stuff. With you guys that are still locked in with us this time of year, or locked on with us this time of year, rather. But just shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making us your first listen each and every day. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And after you make us your first listen, go over and check out our boy Sully at Locked On MLB. He does a great job of covering the league in a different way than we do and keeps it super interesting. But guys, until next time, see ya.